Well, don't you just love this gospel today? It's one of the easiest gospels to live. It's real simple, right? I guess it gives us a thought on how to handle situations like this. You, who embezzled thousands of dollars from me or my company, no worries. I'm a compassionate guy. I'll forgive you. Or you there, who let your judgment lapse one evening, and killed one of my family members while you were drunk. Don't worry. I have mercy for you, and I forgive you. And you, will you stop coming up to my window at every red light I stop at in Tampa? I don't judge, but I know that you're going to use the money that I give you to buy cigarettes or alcohol. But I don't judge. Easy stuff. Well, today, Jesus gives us some teachings that seem very, very difficult, and if at times impossible to do. If we look at the gospel today as being a criterion for us to be a disciple of Christ, most of us would probably fall miserably short. The gospel isn't an option for us. We tend to dismiss gospels like this. Today, this gospel comes down to three major points, three tenets of our faith that really mark us as a Christian. Love your enemies, be merciful as your Father is merciful, and stop judging. These are hard teachings of Jesus, and we usually dismiss them because we consider them unreachable tenets of our faith. But they are reachable if we let Jesus Christ live his life through us. It's not an easy process, but it's a process that we have to develop in our lives. It doesn't come overnight. It's something we need to continue to work at every day of our life. But before we even begin that process, you and I have to ask the question, do I even want that process as part of my reality in my life? Do I want to love my enemies? And some people don't, because it's a difficult thing to do. But it's not an option because Jesus commanded it. What do you do to love your enemies? Do you say a Divine Mercy chaplet for them? Do you pray for their conversion? Do you pray for them to have peace in their lives and change their ways? You know, the truest sign that we know we're getting close to where Jesus wants us is when we can really hope in our heart and want and desire that the person who hates us the most, or the person that we might hate the most, will sit right next to us in heaven forever. Think about that. Wouldn't you just love that? It sounds ridiculous, but when that starts happening, when we start thinking like that, then we're starting to get the mindset of Christ. We begin to get transformed from the way the world thinks to the way Jesus would think. And that's what that whole second reading was about today. That we have this fight inside of us. That reading talks about the two Adams inside each of us. The earthly Adam, the way of the world, the way of sin, and the spiritual Adam, who is Jesus Christ. And whichever one of these forces inside of us we continue to feed, that's the one that'll win. So if we constantly feed our anger, our lust, our judgmentalness, our lack of mercy, or whatever it is, that's what'll grow inside of us. Because we keep feeding it day in and day out, and it'll grow, and it'll eventually win. The natural Adam, the secular side of us, will win. Or we keep feeding our spiritual Adam by coming to Mass, through time and prayer, by taking care of the poor, by feeding the hungry, through acts of self-denial just before Lent. If we feed that Adam, then that's the one that'll win. Every one of us has a struggle going on inside of us. So we can decide to hate our enemies, or we can decide to love them. Whichever one you feed, that's the one that'll win. And the second thing he talks about today is, after you're called to love your enemies, he says, be merciful as your Father is merciful. Mercy is giving something good to somebody that, in our opinion, doesn't deserve it. We have to look at our lives and think, am I truly merciful? Is there anybody in my life who I still hold a grudge against? How do we work with mercy in our life? Do we let go of the past, or do we hold on to it, or do we cling to it? Do we gladly give mercy and forgiveness? Forgiveness is about us and about our past. Trust is about others and the future. Forgiveness is something we must always do. Forgiving somebody doesn't mean that you trust them for the future, it means you let go of the past. So they no longer have power over you. Jesus commanded us to be merciful and forgiving. And that's the way he is. Just try it. Just try forgiving somebody. It'll freak them out. And you are going to feel a whole lot better. And last, and this is one of the hardest things for a lot of us who are followers of Christ to do, is he says, stop judging, stop condemning. Sometimes we Catholics are great judges, but we're not such great lovers. We've always had and will continue to have so many controversial issues in our society. Same-sex marriage, abortion, the death penalty, euthanasia, and on and on. And we as Catholics have two choices. We can sit there and fight it and condemn all these people and lose anyway, or we can love these people and show them another way. Until we learn that, we're not doing what Christ commanded us to do. We still have to stick up for what's right. We still have to be willing to die for what's right. We still have to be willing to give it all up for what is right. But we don't condemn others. We don't judge them. We love them, and we share with them the truth, our teachings, our beliefs, because we want them to live forever. We don't want it to be my way or our way. We want it to be God's way. Remember, your most important job as a Christian is to help others get to heaven. And so we share the truth in love so that they can be set free from their slavery. Only when we get out of this mindset that I'm not allowed to judge, we will be living according to the words that we heard in that gospel. So, these are the 3 easy challenges given to us this week by Christ. Think about it this week. How will you love your enemy? How will you be a more merciful person? How will you reach out in mercy to others who have offended you? How will you and I stop judging so that we can be who Christ calls us to be instead of who the world calls us to be?